Fertiliser is needed to grow the amount of food we need to feed a rising population on the amount of land we have. That much most of us can agree on. But it has an environmental cost, both in its production and in its use. So what's being done to improve that situation? Well, to find out, let's meet Alexander Landier, chairman of Eurochem, one of the world's leading mineral fertiliser producers, headquartered in Switzerland. I'm Sarah Lockett. Welcome to the Business Debate. Alexander, welcome to the London Stock Exchange studios.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So fertiliser is used in more than 50% of crop production worldwide. What would happen if we didn't have it?
Sarah, indeed, as you said, if we stopped using fertilizer today, we would have 50% less crop to feed 7 billion people today on the planet. Or we would need another continent of size of Latin America. Or we would need to resort to terrible things like cutting down rainforests. So we will need to produce much more from less arable land.
But what are you trying to do to reduce the environmental impact of producing fertilisers? Because you are basically a mining company and a chemical processes company, aren't you?
So our task is to minimize the environmental impact of any chemical process which we conduct and to maximize the yield from the phosphate and potash rock which we mine.
And you're trying also to reduce the use of water?
Indeed, that's a big part of our program, both in production and also in usage of fertilizers.
Now, some of the fertiliser, when it's used, it does run off into groundwater. So what needs to happen about the way that fertiliser is used on the land? Are farmers using too much? Are they using it the wrong way?
Mineral fertilizers were the right step to reduce the environmental impact, which also manure and gully have. But the next step has to be that we need to control the release of fertilizers much better than we do today. And we are, in our labs in Switzerland and Germany, working already on the second generation of such fertilizers. And so it's about technology. And it's one hand of this equation, and the other hand is education. We are working with very smart farmers, which are our clients, to improve their knowledge on how to apply best way the fertilizers, and through our agricultural centers we are delivering that knowledge to them.
And so you mentioned this a little bit, you're looking now at a much greater personalisation of fertilizers depending on the crop and depending on the soil. Now, is that what farmers want, or do they just want one product which they spread on the fields?
Different soils have different qualities for delivering nutrients to plants. France and Italy have great wines because they have great soil, not only because they have great sun, which is also elsewhere. Crops need different nutrients, and they need that at different times.
And most fertilisers are used on low profit crops like wheat or soy, aren't they? So is there enough of a profit margin in those crops for farmers to be able to afford more sophisticated fertilisers?
It's to their benefit, and they can benefit in three ways. First, they can have higher yield through application of right fertilisers. Second, they can reduce their time which they spend on the field, because slow release fertilizers need to be applied 2 times a year, not 3 times a year, and they can have less environmental impact, which they can use for marketing.
And what would you like to see happen about regulation? Because in Switzerland, for example, there are subsidies for farmers who use better fertilizers, aren't there?
What happens in Switzerland is that the farmers can convert their reduced environmental impact into CO2 certificates and monetize that. And that provides them incentive to use more environmentally friendly fertilizers. And this is not a classical subsidy, it's a good regulation.
And how difficult is it to formulate new fertilizers? Because you're only actually dealing with 3 elements, aren't you? You've got phosphate, nitrogen and potassium. And how many ways can you combine those?
First of all, the combination is not a trivial task itself, because you have to have a sustainable product which you can transport, store and apply in a safe way. But in 21st century, our company is now working towards delivering specialized fertilizers, as you said, to specific crops at specific time and at specific soil. That's our aim.
All right, well, Alexander, thank you very much.
Thank you. Great pleasure being here.
And join us next time when we'll be discussing the latest innovations in enterprise cyber risk and the future of insurance. Bye-bye for now.